Good morning, MJC. Glad you're here with me aboard this ship. I'm Ariel, serving up more music with a better variety. This is my last 2-hour time slot as MJC's radio classes have been cut. This ship hasn't docked yet, so let's make the most of our time together with Sister Golden Hair. TV, film, journalism, radio, all of that got cut, and I was one class away from getting my radio degree, and thank goodness that Carol kind of stepped in and I chatted with her because she let me into her TV class so I could finish up, so I can get my AA in theater as well as radio, which is so nice. But I am very fortunate, as there was other students who are just beginning the radio classes that aren't ever going to get a chance to use this studio and to practice being on air and getting that full real world experience about how do I set up a show, what goes into it, how much time do I have to prepare for it, and having the actual, okay, I'm on air, this is what I'm gonna sound like, this is what I'm gonna say. It's cool because you're reaching out and you don't get to see the people that you're reaching out to, so it could be anybody. And it's fun. It's an expression and it's performing without having to worry about, what costume am I wearing, what lines do I have to say? It's more like, I wrote my script and here it is and let's have fun saying it. So always exciting.
Honorable members of the board, Dr. Lowenstein, and invited guests. My name is Michael Fowler. I own Grassfire Media. And Dr. Lowenstein, I really take exception to your remarks that the media and radio department is irrelevant and no longer part of our future. I respect you. We've talked. I think you're a great man. I think you're very intelligent. However, I think that your position is wrong. In one semester at this college, I was able to take the radio program and was employed at Clear Channel Radio. In a second semester at this college, I was able to start my own media business. In this economy, with 40% living under poverty level and 20% unemployment, vocational arts is the fastest means to put our state back in business. We need to keep the vocal arts.
They look at a program on a piece of paper and say, okay, you've given out X number of degrees over the last number of years, and if it's below a certain number, they don't think it's worth it. But they don't look at the success rate of a program when you place so many students in jobs. So with radio, that's exactly what happened. They looked at it and says, you've only given out 1 degree over the last 2 years in AA, but they didn't come to say, well, how many people have gotten a job in radio? And I could have given them a list that went right out the door. So without Elise coming over and taking a look at the program, I never met the president. I still haven't met the president. I've never met, I've met other people in administration. They'll come by and say hello and so forth. So it's kind of a sad thing when someone makes an arbitrary decision just based on a piece of paper and without looking at, what is this program really doing? Just because it may not perform well on paper doesn't mean that it's not performing well at all.
It's just been a great hands-on experience. I've learned so much and I feel so much more ready to just go into any type of studio, because before I took the radio classes, I was one of those kids that taped stuff off the radio or wanted to mess around, so I would just, turn on my recording on my radio and just, start recording myself being completely insane. So now it kind of gives me a chance to, be completely insane in a professional perspective, which is really good. And I've, knowing what these buttons do is just really cool. And I can go in and say, hey, now you can pay me for it because I know what I'm doing, which I like. I'm Ariel, theater cat from the Fish Tank. It has been a pleasure riding the airwaves with you at MJC. I leave you with, it must have been love. Whew. Alrighty, there it is. In the can, as they like to say it in the film industry. I don't know, in the flash drive. Do they say that in radio? I don't know.
Basically, the Pirates Log has been publishing continuously since 1926. The previous presidents took it for granted that the newspaper was an important aspect of student life and of the MJC community at large. Even though there were always some people who didn't read it, it was there for those who did. You know, we can't force people to pick up the Modesto Bee or the New York Times either, but that doesn't mean it shouldn't be there. I think most importantly for me as a teacher was to see how the newspaper provided a mode of learning that was right for certain students. You know, you would never have a class that had 400 students in it. You couldn't count it that way. As a matter of fact, there were some semesters where the numbers were low, when it was so time-consuming. But as it got to be, through technology, a little bit less time-consuming, it became more feasible for students to be in the newspaper production class and at the same time have a full load of courses and not make such a big sacrifice of time.
I'm sorry, but my profession teaches me to be skeptical. I don't entirely believe it when you say you have to take away $8 million worth of educational and community services. I believe that the students and faculty are being used as pawns in a high-stakes political maneuver in the Capitol that has to do with wresting control of tax-based funds, and that it doesn't matter to them if academic careers are ruined and student futures are short-circuited. So when I hear about plans to eliminate the entire mass communications department and all student media at Modesto and our other worthy programs, I know that not only is it wrong to remove the voice of the students, but it is also completely unnecessary, a frightened response to alarmist politics.
Thank you for your comments. Thank you. Thank you.
Obviously, many of us realized that emotional appeals were not going to do it. By the time we were prepping for the Board of Trustees meeting, I realized that they weren't going to go for that. They didn't care. And I was trying to say something that would remind them that they were elected public servants, that it was their job to fight for us, not against us, that if they didn't have enough money from the state, it was their job to go to Sacramento and fight for it, not to eliminate the hopes and careers and educational processes of hundreds and hundreds of students.
I realize that reporting isn't the best job to get into nowadays, but I feel like we're just beginning a new age kind of of journalism. And now this new age is going to be cut short of so many great young people that are coming to this college and have the same clueless, lost kind of thing where they don't know what they're going to do. And now this is getting taken from them. It's disheartening to know that people are going to be lose this opportunity and not be able to have Laura as a teacher. It's just disheartening.
I don't have an exact date, but it was mid-February, 4:30 in the afternoon. I was still in the newsroom when I get a call from the secretary for Karen Walters Dunlap, the vice president, for instruction, saying Ms. Walters Dunlap would like to speak to you about your program tomorrow. And I said, oh, that's interesting. No one has ever asked to speak about my program before. How can I prepare for this meeting? And the secretary said, you don't have to prepare anything. And I looked at my calendar and I said, okay, well, I'll be done with my classes at about 11 a.m. tomorrow. I can meet you anytime after that. And she said, no, she wants you to show up at 8:30 in the morning. So I said, okay. And I had a feeling that that would be it. And I came in at 8:30 the next morning. Karen proceeded to read from a legal script. It appeared to be a script. In other words, she had her lines that she could read, informing me that my position had been eliminated, the program was being eliminated, and that I would no longer be needed after this semester. And as much as I tried to have a conversation, I'm pretty certain that she was under orders not to have a conversation because she would not depart from the script. So I just tried to keep my cool, but of course, you just run hot and cold inside when the news like that is delivered to you, because I was thinking not only of my livelihood, but this program that I've invested 15 years in, and which many students are devoted to, and that is preparing students for a career in communications. I will confess that on my way out, I slammed the door.
Laura is a big impact on my life, actually. She inspired me to do a lot of my articles that I have done, and has, helped me, kind of shape me in what I need to, in what I need to do in my career. And she believed in me pretty much when no one else did. And it means a lot to me because this is what I want to do. I have a passion for this. And this being cut is a blow to me. And the fact that Gaither Lowenstein says that we have no talent is demeaning and hurtful, because, who is he to judge? Because we work hard on what we do, and I think we're pretty good at it. So it's a giant blow to us.
So I think that, in fact, crises produce good journalism, and that you have done some of the best work that I've seen in a long time this semester. I'm very proud of how you pulled together and tried to cover an event which involved you, but at the same time were able to do it both objectively and subjectively. Subjectively in the way that it came out in your opinion pieces, the beautiful, moving opinion pieces that you wrote, your cartoons, and so on and so forth, but also wrote objective stories just covering the news. So I think you've got good work to submit. A lot of them don't have a very wide vision for themselves. They don't know how they're going to grow their lives past high school. Many of them come here seeking. They know not what. They don't know how they're ever going to get out of Modesto, if they want to get out of Modesto. And of course, if you saw American Graffiti or any of that, you know that most people want to get the hell out of Modesto when they're young, at least see the rest of the world. It's kind of living in a bubble. So when I made that plea, or that statement, it wasn't only on behalf of the students of journalism and media, it was all of them, the dental assisting students, the tech ed students, all of them. Because these programs represented skills that they could learn, that would give them some viability in the job market. And even journalism, radio, and television, even though the market for newspaper reporters is shrinking, there is actually an expansion of avenues where a well-educated journalism student can position themselves. But they have to be good writers, they have to be good research, they have to be in the swim of the world of media, they have to have a sense of the big picture of mass media. This idea that just because the Modesto B staff is shrinking, that there are no jobs and there's no purpose in studying journalism here, is incredibly limited in its vision. Students don't want to study journalism just so that they can get a job at the Modesto B. They want to get out of Dodge,
If I'm going to get anything from journalism now, I was within that department for over a year and a half, almost 2 years, and now I don't even know if I can leave with a certificate or not. So I'm a little pissed about it. The paper itself was funded by advertisement. So it's like, all you're doing is cutting a teacher's salary and getting rid of the entire department. That's all you did.
I started out here as an English major, actually, but then I decided to try out journalism because I've always been a writer, I've always liked writing, and it gave me a lot more confidence, and as I went on, I started to think, this is what I really want to do. I personally believe that everybody here should have their artistic expression, especially since it's college. That's when you're supposed to do that. You're supposed to be heard and seen, and it's the one time in your life you're supposed to go big. At least that's what everyone told me growing up. And everyone always stresses that you need to go to college, get a career, but it seems like with all these budget cuts, it's kind of focusing on the exact opposite. You have to decide, okay, you better find a career that doesn't require school because you can't afford to go anymore.
How many books were here before you started giving them away?
Everything was full. And I've given away this many. I still haven't given away, I have a lot of interesting videos, but most people don't have video
VHS.
players, VHS players anymore. But I had a Pirates Log end of year party where I tried to pick out one book for each member of the staff that I thought they would like. There's one girl who just really writes poetry and really loves writing, and I found a book for her that was about careers for bookworms, you know, things like. Another one got a book on how to find anything fast, and one of my ace investigative reporters got the Investigative Reporter's Guide to research. So, you know, it's all useful. I just want it to be used. I still believe that journalism is essential for the citizens of a free society because the powers that be will always try to operate in the dark in order to pursue their own interests, and that only exposing as much truth as possible can enable a wider sector of the citizenry to participate in the decisions that affect us all.